the planet Repo in the galactic regions of Clan Corso. The expansion of the Empire continues after the successes of the campaign against BRUSA. On the planet Repo, there is a meeting of three clans, Mirra, Armony, and Corso, to decide on a strategy for the new civilization encountered, Homo sapien called Earthlings.
Through Green Tuck, a tumult and clamour flowed with every being that walked the streets. It pounded unbearably, seeping into Mirra's ears. It drilled into her mind with an energetic cacophony full of shouts, songs, laughter, and the sound of instruments, arguments, and the noises of vehicles. Amidst the numerous beings from across the Empire, there were enthusiasts for new investments. Others just wanted to have fun. Some sought opportunities for adventures, yet others for exotic romances. Under the rule of the Corso clan, Repo was not a family-friendly picnic spot, but the city was developing at an incredible pace, a fact proudly displayed by the leaders of the Corso clan, organising a grand festival. More and more people interested in the extraordinary event flocked to the city. The lively atmosphere around the Ziddic pyramid led to an increase in the Imperio Sap guards. The tall peak of the pyramid towered over the rest of the buildings. Green Tuck City was modern, yet it retained the spirit of folklore, which was an element of the implemented genetic project for accelerated evolution on the planet Repo. She raised the collar of her coat made of woven bamboo fibers and emerged from behind the alley, blending in with the celebrating crowd of all races and kinds. And there was much to celebrate because representatives from the Council of Clans of Armony, Corso, and Umerium were soon to arrive on the planet Repo, beginning another cosmic conquest of the Empire. The expansion of the Empire was considered by some as its main imperial goal, akin to fuel-strengthening power, earning opportunities, access to resources, and expanding influence. For many, it was an opportunity, especially thanks to the black market channels that nourished many planets, with some clans practically rubbing their hands at the thought of profits they could gain by conquering a new civilization. Hosts on the planet Repo also awaited substantial profits, organising lavish celebrations and showcasing Repo's success, which was, after all, also a conquest. However, the Emperor himself was distant from these events. The mind of the Emperor, one of the oldest Homo Deus, had long forgotten about financial benefits. His insightful mind and patience were focused solely on artifacts and developing extraordinary technologies. His clans provided him with everything he needed. For the Emperor, every new world meant more data and knowledge that could be useful or forgotten. Mirra circled around various beings, recalling the history of the planet. Repo possessed rich deposits of resources used in every corner of the Empire. The gravitational forces inside the planet enabled the creation of a distribution hub with 3 large pyramids. Over 80% of all trees belong to the Quercus species, symbiotically linked with Ips arichin, a microscopic spider living inside the plant. The creature created microscopic channels, reinforced by fibers resulting from the clotting of gland secretions, made of fibrous silk glued together by sericin. Quercus was stronger than steel and much more flexible. This valuable material was coveted throughout the Empire. Among its wide range of applications, militaria couldn't be overlooked. The raw material was used to create lightweight armor, as well as durable spacesuits for spacewalks or strolls in inhospitable atmospheres for newcomers. Deep in thought about the biogenetic phenomenon, Mirra observed the passing streets with careful attention, choosing the shortest route, sometimes encountering cold reptilian eyes. She disliked being late. Finally, she arrived at a square paved with brown stones. The place buzzed with activity on market days. Sellers shouted over one another, offering aromatic spices, fresh meat, fruits, and even a mug of drink. Despite her churning stomach, Mirra bypassed the square and turned into a narrow alleyway. Here the commotion softened, allowing the woman to calm down and gather her thoughts. She passed a small warehouse with dried carnos leaves, which reptilians twisted and burned, giving their scaly skin various colours. This provided them with pleasant, relaxing relief. She meticulously noted every detail of the alley, on the lookout for any potential threats. Years spent spying for the Harmony clan instilled automatic safety habits in her. The walls of the houses lining the sides of the alley were covered in shimmering silver ivy. Moths and fireflies fluttered in the air. Some strange cross between a cat and a lizard darted past her like a shadow, disappearing so quickly that she couldn't identify the species. Finally, she reached a door painted with blue, depicting the head of a zergak, a species of wild boar that thrived in the Quercus forests and was a delicacy for the locals who loved hunting it. She entered. She was greeted by the thick scent of incense and the biting smoke from Canos pipes filling her nostrils. Tables and sofas were arranged in numerous alcoves where patrons drowned their sorrows or lifted their spirits. At the back of the room, Hom Sap from the neighbouring planet Holiv sat. She recognised them by their implants. Several tables were occupied by reptilians, and in the distance stood an old jukebox proudly displaying the sign, Top 1000 Best Solo Fun Hits List. In the centre of the room, a bar was set up. A bartender, a local reptilian, bustled behind the counter. When their eyes met, he nodded his head toward the interior of the establishment. Mirra headed in the indicated direction. A hooded figure in a long, sand-coloured coat awaited her. Original, she thought, smiling gently. Del, you're the last person I expected to see on this planet. Haven't you been working with Escobar and Loop lately?
Nice to see you too, Mirra. Your beauty dazzles as always. He flashed a smile and gestured to the empty seat opposite him. As she approached, he watched her with pleasant excitement. Ros Deus was the rarest human race in the entire known world of the Empire. At the sight of Mirra, his body responded with tremors and heightened arousal. Yet he knew his senses could deceive him. He was well aware that Ros Deus studied hormones of all species in their temples. Their molecular knowledge simplified their understanding and enabled them to manipulate them. He knew Mirra very well, aware of her capabilities.
Mirra didn't let on that she was pleased to see Del, but just thinking about their last encounter made her green cheeks flush. She swallowed loudly, leaning on the table. Del nodded to the bartender, instructing him to bring drinks. I hope I didn't come here just for a chat. Do you have something really valuable for me? She lowered her voice, leaning towards him. She averted her gaze, looking around the venue. Why did you choose this place? We'd both know much nicer ones. The bartender brought a carafe of wine from the planet Apam. Del poured the drinks into glasses. The alcohol had a deep burgundy hue, and the pleasant scent of fruits wafted into their nostrils. They took a sip, savouring the rich flavour. So? She raised an eyebrow.
Professional matters are a bit complicated.
Brief silence fell. Both of them worked for clans most fiercely competing in the Council of Clans. Their unique bond was marked by difficult decisions, often filled with turmoil. I didn't expect you to follow him like a dog, she scoffed. She took a long sip of wine, swallowing the bitter words that surged to her lips.
Under Marco's brutal exterior, there's something more. Intelligence, impeccable strategy.
His clan indulges in killing for sheer pleasure. They revel in blood and brutality, masking their deeds with the Emperor's orders. Her face contorted in a grimace of disgust.
Just trust me and give him a chance, he said, taking the woman's hand and looking deeply into her eyes. I'm not denying that Marco is cruel, because he is. His whole world is cruel, the Corso clan. He paused, lost in thought. The planet Corso, the largest planet in the Empire, the mightiest warriors, and the largest beasts. This planet flows with blood. Only strength matters there. He had known Marco for a long time, remembered the time when he expelled Ziraku Sari from the planet Corso. He was one of the spies searching for Ziraku throughout the cosmos. The story of the gods' beheading flashed through his mind.
Mirra sighed. The wine was slowly coursing through their veins, relaxing their muscles and untangling their complex thoughts. Years of work as an Imperial spy have left their mark on his face, Mirra thought, looking into Del's eyes. Cracks and grooves had appeared on his skin, highlighting the hardships he had endured. She knew something about it. She herself felt the effects of their profession. She gently withdrew her hand from his grip and asked, "What are you doing here, Del?"
The BRUSANs. My source tells me that after losing the battle for their planet, they started developing new weaponry. I have reasons to believe they will deploy it here.
Here? That's absurd. Repo doesn't hold much galactic significance. It's just one of 1,000 Imperial planets. Plus, it's still in its early stages of development. There's nothing valuable here except Quercus. She began searching in her thoughts.
What do you know about the BRUSANs, Mirra?
Silence fell. Few knew the true history of the BRUSA clan. The Empire waged battles against them. The BRUSANs were the only ones who could resist the might of the Umerians, but even they fell to their knees, despite the knowledge and technology they possessed, which, in some aspects, surpassed Imperial achievements. Mirra fell into thought, and Del, seizing the opportunity, emptied his glass.
Let's go. I want to show you something.
He placed a silver disc with the emblem of the Corso clan on the table. Marco knows how to reward loyalty. They stood up, leaving the half-empty carafe behind. They exited the establishment and put on their hoods. Mirra followed Del in silence, lost in thought. What are the Brusani looking for on Repo? After their defeat on their homeworld, they scattered, surely avoiding Galaxy Anahera, to which Repo belonged. Moreover, how did they even reach here? Without the pyramids, without maps? Focus, Mirra. The answer must be simpler than it seems. 2 queens ruled them. The first, Carla, led the Brusan forces. She commanded the army, fiercely resisting the Imperial troops while conquering new planets. Shira, the leader of the Armonia clan, described her as a fierce and steel-hearted beast. Beautiful, proud Axedeus, an extraordinary race, ruled the depths of the oceans, also gaining lands on hundreds of planets. The second of the 2 Brusan queens was Dakara, known as the Queen of Peace. She governed the kingdom in Carla's absence. Thanks to her planning and strategy, the Brusans grew economically and militarily, despite being at war. Dakara possessed a cunning mind and extraordinary intelligence, giving her power over the weaker ones. They moved away from the market toward a small hangar where Del had parked his vehicle. We know too little about who they really are, Mirra sniffed.
Something's wrong? He looked at her carefully with his eyes.
Where are you taking me?
He opened the door for her, which emitted a painful squeal upon opening. Mirra hesitated for a moment, standing still. Del rolled his eyes and settled into the driver's seat on the other side of the vehicle. I'll brief you on the way. Oh, and I should mention, this mission is an excellent opportunity for me to admire your skills, he said, flashing a white smile, leaning over the passenger seat. Now, hop in, and we can catch the starbursts over Repo.
Mirra bit her lip and got into the vehicle. She closed the door, silently cursing Del. In life, Mirra enjoyed savouring the little things. A bottle of wine from Apam, watching the birth of stars in the sky, a ride towards adventure. Damn it, if he's trying so hard, this must be serious. Del started the vehicle, and they left Green Tark behind. The city bid them farewell with its last twinkles of light before disappearing over the horizon. They drove in silence, each lost in their own thoughts. The man drummed his fingers on the steering wheel. His gaze was fixed ahead, and his lips formed a thin line. Finally, he clenched his hands tightly until his knuckles turned white. Del, she turned towards him. What's troubling you?
I'll tell you everything when we get there.
Don't be silly. I didn't meet you for your games. Olivia will be here tomorrow, and I need to prepare for her arrival.
Don't worry, we're almost there.
They entered a small town where the residents were engaged in cutting Quercus. Empty transporters and trailers arrived at the large warehouses on the outskirts of the town and left laden with valuable raw material, heading towards the massive factories on the artificial moons of Danton. There, the production process began, and wonders of technology were created from the wooden raw material. The warehouse was connected to other distribution centres through a network of railway lines powered by electromagnetic energy. Thanks to the advanced logistics network and progressive technology, the railway connected every corner of Repo. Del pulled up to one of the warehouses. He parked discreetly, as befitting a spy. He stared at the assortment of cargo in front of him for a moment, then turned to Mirra and asked,
"So, what do you know about BRUSA?"
After the victory in the battle for the BRUSA moon, the Emperor declared a great triumph, and then it was as if a digital fog descended and everything fell silent. You have to admit that the Imperial propaganda machine is flawless and all information is confidential. They can conceal an entire galaxy if the need arises, she pondered for a moment. However, the Emperor wouldn't announce such a spectacular victory if he wasn't certain of winning. After all, the BRUSANs have many planets. Why would they surrender after a loss on just one of them? There's something more behind this propaganda. Mirra narrowed her eyes. What's going on, Del? Why did you bring me here?
"I need your help," he lowered his voice, although the likelihood of someone eavesdropping was slim. "Tonight, I need to get into one of those warehouses."
Quercus Depot. What are you looking for there?
I guess it's best to start from the beginning. He took a deep breath and let it out with a long hiss.
Mirra shifted in her seat. It must be really serious if it bothers even Del.
"The leader of my tribe from planet Corso, Shirk, disappeared without a word for a few months, and just before that, he was seen with Siberia." The man stared ahead, his features tensed, as if he were grappling with thoughts.
What are you hiding from me, friend? Mirra wondered. She suspected that Del wasn't telling her the whole truth, but what could she expect from a spy of Clan Corso? That massive reptilian with the sphere artifact.
"Yes, the same one that never leaves Marco's side. When it was announced that Shirk had appeared, I went to his headquarters, but he went directly to the great fortress in the northern part of Corso, where Marco keeps the most notorious criminals. It's a dreadful place. I didn't manage to meet Shirk, but I'm sure he brought someone. Guards around the cells have been doubled, and additional combat units have appeared in the orbits."
So, another political prisoner Marco will skin alive. Mirra grimaced with a smile, but Del's cold gaze wiped any cheerfulness from her lips.
"This is no ordinary prisoner. I have reason to think it's a BRUSAN, and not just anyone. Important enough to tie the hands of his brethren."
Let's assume you're right. What does this have to do with Repo?
"Expanding the Empire to another planet and sending the signal. Meeting of 3 clan representatives, including the head of Clan Corso, Marco. I suspect the BRUSANs are planning to abduct him, so they can exchange him for their own."
You're crazy. Mirra laughed without a hint of joy. That's impossible. The planet is well protected by Imperio-SAP units. Marcus himself doesn't move without his soldiers, who, I don't have to remind you, are highly effective in combat. Besides, thanks to the pyramid, Imperial legions can be here within an hour.
"I know how it sounds," Del growled. Mirra frowned. "Organizing a military action on the planet Repo is definitely easier than on Corso."
I definitely agree with this, but your speculations have too many holes. You're not even sure if the hostages you mentioned is BRUSAN.
"I know my information isn't entirely certain, but that's what I'm paid to dig into, and my gut tells me that Marco is in danger."
Marco is a cruel creature, and it is because of him that I am on this planet. Mirra tightened her hands on the coattails.
"Is this about Trorax?"
The woman nodded. How much do you know about these creatures, Del?
"They come from a direct evolutionary line with reptilians."
I see that your scientific knowledge is very extensive, she murmured. Did you know that they have a unique gene Rex that combines intelligence with aggression?
"Well," Del shrugged. "I heard that they are bloodthirsty beasts. Personally, I don't see anything special about them. Many creatures like them live on Corso."
There are no creatures like them in the entire known universe, and their last representatives may soon disappear.
"Clan Harmonia and their parks."
Marco transports Torexes to Corso, where he subjects them to processes enabling the extraction of Rex genes, from which he later creates stimulants for his troops. The creatures themselves are thrown into illegal beast fights. Although her voice trembled, determination resonated in it.
"Mirra, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you." Del leaned towards her. "But we don't have time for this now. Help me tonight, please."
A favour for a favour. She extended her hand towards him. He took it, smiling crookedly and sending a shiver down her spine. She looked around. What are we doing here?
I suppose the new BRUSA weapon is already on repo. I don't know yet what it might be or how they will use it. A direct attack is probably out of the question. Maybe a minor diversion.
Del, focus. Mirra snapped her fingers, seeing the second spy's blurred vision. Is that why you took me to those warehouses? Do you think you'll find it here? Why don't you just go in and check it out? It's just a Quarkum distribution center after all. Mirra asked, a bit annoyed, starting to think that Del was wasting her time.
I tried, but they didn't let me in, citing a simple inventory check. Then they politely invited me to the festival in Green Tech, saying that the best Imperial artists had gathered. And when I insisted, security showed up, creatures not from this planet, led by a large reptilian.
Mirra looked at Del with surprise. You're a member of Marco's clan, it's his planet. Surely you can find a way to check those warehouses.
One way is to bring in the Imperio sap, but that's not my style. You know, I prefer to handle things quietly, without publicity. Besides, if I'm wrong, he thought, looking at the warehouse in the distance. Please, help me.
Mirra was pondering what she had just heard. She knew that planets under the jurisdiction of Clan Corso operated under the law of the strongest, much like their accursed clan. The most logical course of action would be to bring in the Imperio sap. But she had a soft spot for Del and wanted to help him. What's on your mind, Del? She asked.
I'll slip in during the night. I've already found a suitable entrance, but I need someone I can trust to watch my back and divert attention. And you know a few tricks.
These are not tricks, but knowledge about the nature and genetics of my race, plus years of studying herbology. She rolled her eyes. Ros Deus is an organism in which unique bacteria live, capable of engaging in various interactions with other bacteria and billions of microparticles in worlds dominated by evolution. You know I can communicate with them and somehow influence them to my will. These are years of study, Del, not just some tricks. Del burst out laughing, making Mirra irritated.
Mirra, you are one of the most beautiful beings that live in this universe. Thank you for your help.
You'll thank me later with a bottle of wine from the planet Apam.